Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Dawson, the Regional Director for the Sertoma Mountain West region. I'm going to introduce Temple Grandin, and she will give welcoming remarks. But before I do, I want to tell you a few things about her. Temple Grandin is a professor of animal science at CSU here in Colorado, and has been for over 30 years. She is a consultant to the livestock industry and is well known for developing humane ways to prepare cattle for their demise when they're in the meat industry. She is a highly functioning autistic woman who has written many studies, scientific studies, and she has a biopic that was made about her life that I recommend if you haven't seen it. It's just called Temple Grandin, I believe, and just go to IMDb and find it and see it. It's a very inspiring story of her life. So it is an honor and a privilege to introduce Temple Grandin.
Well, it's really good to be here today, and I just want to welcome everybody to the meeting. And before I came on, we had a little discussion about what autism is. When I was 4 years old, I had no speech, got very good early intervention. And autism is a very big spectrum. It goes from Steve Jobs and Einstein, who would probably be labeled autistic today, to somebody who's very severe and they can't dress themselves. In fact, half of the programmers out in Silicon Valley probably have a little bit of autism. And that's why we got computers, and that's why we've got this tech that we're talking on today. A brain can either be more thinking or a brain can be more social emotional. At what point do geeks and nerds get an autism label? And one of the things that bothers me, especially with fully verbal kids, is too often the autism becomes their identity rather than a career. And I asked Mr. Dawson to introduce me as a college professor first, because that's my primary identity. Autism is an important part of who I am, but it's not my primary identity. Another thing I talk about is a lot of people on the milder end of the autism spectrum, some like me, are visual thinkers, think totally in pictures. We'd be really good at all kinds of building things, real high-end skilled trades. In fact, I'm very concerned right now we're losing skills in this country. Or you have the mathematical ones, they'd be your computer programmers. Then you have the verbal ones. It is a spectrum, either more thinking brain or a more cognitive brain. And there's been a very interesting study done with animals. It's called solitary mammals as a model for autism. Now the lions, they're a lot more social than the panthers and the leopards and the tigers. Well, would anybody say that the tiger is abnormal? No. You see, this is where it is a true continuum. And I hope that's given you a little bit better understanding. And I would be very happy to answer a few questions now. I would really like to do that before you go on with your meeting. And I do have some books if you're interested in autism. My biography, Thinking in Pictures. That's one of my books, my biography. And I'd like to answer a few questions. If anybody has them, let's see what's on the chat. Okay, I don't see any questions on here. Hi, is everybody still there? You got any questions?
Temple, we don't have the ability to have you field questions.
Well, you have the ability to ask me a question.
I do. What are you working on right now?
I'm working right now on a book on visual thinking because I had to have a good project for Covet. I am an extreme visual thinker, and that's shown in the movies. And I'm very concerned that visual thinking is getting screened out of our school systems. They've taken all the skilled trades out, art and theater, all kinds of hands-on classes, cooking, sewing, taking those things out of the schools. And we actually have a skill shortage. There's stuff that we don't know how to build anymore, including state-of-the-art machine for making electronic chips for the high-end phones. And that's going to be some of the stuff I'm going to be writing about in this book, that we need our visual thinkers. These are people that think in photorealistic pictures like me instead of verbally. And then the math minds, they give you the programming that's behind this interface we're using right now. But the visual thinkers like me, somebody who's a visual thinker probably designed the interface on Zoom. The reason why Zoom's so popular is I don't have to have a degree in computer science to operate it. I'm
Well,
not interested in programs where I have to learn how to operate them.
Temple, you're a fascinating person, and we could probably talk to you all day, but we have used up our time for your remarks, and I want to thank you very much for agreeing to come on and helping us get our convention started. I hope we'll have you back sometime soon so that you can give us a longer talk and tell us more about what you're doing and just your whole life. So
Well, when
thank
I
you
was
very much.
when I was a student, everybody thought I was retarded. I wouldn't amount to anything. And when you see the projects that are in the movie, one of the things that motivated me when I was in my 20s is I had this huge urge to prove to people I was not stupid. That was a very big motivation.
Well, I
I
think
want to
you've
help these
succeeded.
kids that are different to get out and be successful.
Temple, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So then I'll sign off.
Thank you.
Okay, all righty, goodbye.
Now, I would like to introduce David Oppenheim, and David is going to provide us with a unique Pledge of Allegiance today.
Thank you, Steve. Will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And now, Father Chris, will you give us an invocation, please?
I don't see him.
I don't believe he's on.
Okay. David, do you want to step in?
Sure. Oh, Lord, we thank you for bringing us all together today to this virtual convention. And we ask for your blessings for the Sertomans that are gathered, for those that are unable to be here, for those special people in our lives that are suffering from the pandemic, for the special first responders that are helping us with our fires on the West Coast and in Colorado, and for everybody who is being challenged today by whatever it is. We ask that you give a special blessing to those that, like Temple, have special challenges. Thank you, and we ask these blessings in your name. Amen.
Thank you, David. And now I have the pleasure of introducing a number of people who are joining us today who I'm going to call Dignitaries. And before I do that, I just want to acknowledge a couple of people who've been instrumental in bringing this convention to the screen. The first is Janice Martin from headquarters, who basically trained our Zoom expert, David Oppenheim. And David is the second person because he's worked harder than any of us here in the field to make this happen and bring it to the screen. So thank you to both of you. We have with us today Sertoma President Joy Newman, Sertoma President-elect Daryl Ching, Senior Vice President Gretchen Nielsen, Junior Vice President Renee Ward, Sertoma Treasurer B. Gabani, and now I'm going to turn to the past presidents. We have 3 past presidents in our audience today. Deb Larson, Tim Hazel, and John Kelly are our immediate past president. And from the board, we have several board members, not the least of which is Steve Brown from Great Plains. We have 2 at-large board members, Cindy Markham and Susan Love. And from Southeastern region, we have Lucy Stolfi. So welcome to all of you and thank you for being with us. A couple of other things I want to say before we move forward. I've been watching all but one of the conventions, and each time I've been kind of noticing that there are technical problems and things don't come off perfectly. And I've tended to be critical, which as a lawyer is kind of my gig. After attending the rehearsal we had Thursday night, I figured out that it turns out people are doing a very good job, and the technical problems that we've never had to handle before in a Zoom context are really just that challenging. So please bear with us today because things are not going to come off perfectly throughout the entire convention. But we are all doing our best and we've all worked hard to bring you the best quality experience that we could. And now I have the opportunity to introduce Monica Watts, who is a past district governor for Central Colorado. And she will come on, as is our tradition lately, to conduct a first-timers greeting. Monica.
Yep. Not showing me. I'm not here. Can you see me? It's because Dean had me turn my.
We're getting a very pink screen.
Oh.
There
Did
you
we
are.
find me? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I didn't even touch anything and it came on all of a sudden. Good morning. I'm Monica Watts. I'm from Dry Creek, Sertoma in Littleton, Colorado. And I'm here this morning to speak to any people that might be attending a regional convention for the very first time. I would particularly like to welcome you, whether you've been a Sertoman for 10 days or 10 years. We're very glad you are here. Attending an unconventional convention like this is a demonstration of your commitment to Sertoma, and we appreciate you taking the next step in participating at the regional level. There is a decade-long standing program in the Mountain West region for people like you, and it's called First Timers. It's a rite of passage for attendees designed to help first-timers meet each other, as well as give you an extra incentive to meet your fellow Sertomans and to give us an opportunity to meet you in a way that sort of fast tracks you into the larger Sertoma family. Through the First Timers program, you'll become friends with Sertomans from other states in a remarkably fast rate. Perhaps that's because people that are called to serve others tend to be kind and friendly. And for us Sertomans, Sertoma service is in our name. While not its original founder, Charlene Dane, a local Denver area Sertoman, ran the First Timers program for over 20 years. She recently passed off the baton to myself and my partner in crime, Cindy Markham.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the First Timers Welcome yet again. Given the nature of this program and the nature of this convention, we decided there really wasn't any virtual substitute for doing the First Timers. So what we've come up with is when you're finally able to attend a regular convention in person, you'll still qualify as a first timer. We want you and members of your club to make note of this so that you don't miss out on the fun of the first timers. There are so many fun traditions to look forward to at the regional conventions. First timers, Energizer Bunny, S-Hole Awards, regional level Sertoman, and Service to Mankind Awards, to name a few. There's also an optional early morning, There's also an optional early morning mimosa gathering, and we'd love to see you there. First timers, we hope you'll join us for the Mountain West Regional Convention in Mesa in 2021. And here is a toast to you. We look forward to meeting you. Cheers. I did change it. That's it. Oh, you're still on.
Monica is off. Okay. I would like to confess my first mistake of the morning. I did not introduce Aaron Enzminger, our executive director, who I happen to think is doing an absolutely awesome job. I've been on the board the exact same time that he's been in that office. So I've never not worked with him, and he is just a delight to work with and doing a phenomenal job. I think that the board is functioning at a very high level, and in large part that's due to his guidance and his ability to help us strategically plan. And my second oversight was I failed to introduce and honor my great friend. It's her birthday today, from Aurora, Colorado, Marty Morgan. I won't disclose that she's 82 today. Whoops, I just did that. I hope I didn't offend you, Marty, but congratulations and thank you for being with us. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our Senior Vice President from Wichita Falls, Texas, and the Heart of America region, Gretchen Nielsen. She will give us a talk on how to recruit and utilize volunteers and just volunteering in general. Gretchen?
Good morning, Mountain West. I want to start by saying this past week, my memories on my phone were filled with the amazing time that I got to have last year as your board representative at the Mountain West Regional Convention. And the snow was gorgeous. My niece and I completely enjoyed it. I know you guys might get sick of it, but for us here in North Texas, we don't get to see beautiful snow like that very often. So I'm sad that we don't get to be together with you all at the Mountain West region in person, but I know that we all look forward to next year being able to get to be together. Okay, let's get started. Where's my screen? Janice, I don't know why it's not sharing my screen. Can you all see my video?
I can
I
see,
mean, my slides?
I can see your slide. Yes, it's not
Okay,
running slideshow, but we can see it.
Okay, well, let me present. Maybe that will help. Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay. So my name is Gretchen Nielsen, and I am currently your National Senior Vice President of Sertoma. And today I want us to explore how we can get volunteers to help out with our events, and then potentially even turning those volunteers into members. Each of our clubs across the country and Canada have lots of opportunities to make moments in our own communities. So we've all heard the expression, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. My question to you this morning is, what is the first impression that people get when they look at your club? Is it interesting? Is it inviting? Does it draw people in and make them want to work with you? When thinking about inviting people to help out with your club's events, how do you entice them? Many clubs are looking for ways to give back in their communities. What about your club makes people from your community want to help? So why volunteer? In order to learn how to add volunteers to your club's events, we really need to look at why people choose to volunteer. People choose to volunteer for a variety of reasons. Some like it because it offers them the chance to give back in their community or to make a difference to the people around them. And others, it provides them the opportunity to develop new skills or build on existing experiences and knowledge. Regardless of the motivation, what unites them all is they find it both challenging and rewarding. So right now I'm going to share with you a little video that I found on YouTube that kind of lets us all understand that people out there in the world are specifically looking for volunteer opportunities and why.
I think volunteering is important because you need to show that you can give back to the community and just lend a helping hand to help those who are maybe less fortunate out.
Well, I think it's important to give back to your community. If we all take, then what's left?
I think it's important because it gives you a sense that you're a part of something, and it makes you feel more connected.
I guess it would create a better sense of community, people being less selfish.
I think volunteering is important because you can make a difference in other people's lives, and in return, like, you think you're doing something so great for someone, and then in return you just get so much satisfaction and reward from it.
It shows people that you don't have to always want money.
You know, a lot of people are blessed with a lot of different gifts and material things, and I think it believes that we should share that with others.
It's really nice to just give back and help others out.
And I think it's one of the reasons why we've been put on this planet, is to help other people.
I think people think it's too hard, and they think it's going to take up a lot of their time, but I don't really think it does.
If you really sit down and analyze it, I think we could all make time to do something like this.
Otherwise, you're just sitting on the couch and watching TV, so you might as well get out.
You could volunteer with just a small portion of maybe lending a little bit of time, a little bit of money, whatever it may be, in different forms.
Makes me feel like I'm making a worthwhile contribution to society.
It just more sense of purpose and just showing that you're out there to help other people.
It made me feel very gratified. It made me feel that that I was doing something worthwhile.
It takes away the attention from yourself, puts it on another person.
Not because you're looking, you know, for some kind of joy or something for yourself, but it just kind of happens that way, that you get something out of return of volunteering.
It's kind of like exercising. Once you do it, you're just like, oh, I feel good. And it's kind of neat because you get to meet so many cool people that do it too, and it's just a good community.
There's a lot of studies that have been done. People that volunteer and help others, you live longer actually. It's good for your heart, it's good for your mind, good for your spirit. You're welcome.
that it?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So I want us to look at some of the benefits that people get from volunteering. Volunteering is good for you. Volunteering relieves tension. You get to take the focus off of what's going on in your own life when you give your time and your energy to volunteer to help other people. So I have a little story. When the pandemic started, first, excuse me, my Sertoma Club, the Yellow Rose Sertoma Club, every other Friday, we volunteer and deliver Meals on Wheels as a club. The members get to take turns, depending on who is free during that time period, to volunteer and to deliver those Meals on Wheels. Well, when the pandemic hit, a lot of the Meals on Wheels programs around us literally had to stop or look at new ways. Ours there in Burke-Burnett, Texas, kept going, and it was fantastic because most of us were all stuck at home. That's the good part, I guess. But it gave members an opportunity who had never had that chance before to get to deliver Meals on Wheels because we weren't working. So on one of the trips, myself and another member of our club, we had chosen to take the Friday, and we were delivering Meals on Wheels, and it was going relatively smooth. It was a no contact Meals on Wheels delivery where you put the meals on their porch and you knock on the door and simply walk away. So one of our local churches during this time had donated some extra supplies for us to deliver to people who had been identified ahead of time, and they got like hand sanitizer and a 4-pack of toilet paper. So the next to the last house we were delivering to was one of the houses that was to receive that additional care package. And so we get out of the car and we take it up and you set it on the porch and we knock on the door. And as we're walking away, the lady in the house comes out of her house and sees not only her lunch for the day, but the 4-pack of toilet paper that she had received. And the woman started to cry. We were still halfway to the car, so of course we stopped and turned around to speak to her. And she said, "You don't understand how much this means, because I literally am almost through the very last roll of toilet paper that's in my house, and I have no way to get out and go get the things that I need." We get back in the car, and the lady that was with me, she said, "I would never have known that when I did this, I would walk away feeling like everything that I have in my life is exactly what I need. I can get in my car." Now, granted, we couldn't find toilet paper at the time, but to not simply have that ability to just go out, get in your car, drive to the store and get what you need. She said, "It makes everything that I have been complaining about for the last couple of weeks during this quarantine seem silly." And so that's what we have to think about a lot is, yes, we volunteer to help other people, but volunteering does help us as well. Volunteering gives us greater perspective and self-awareness. We all have issues, but sometimes that simple getting out of your comfort zone and being a volunteer or joining into a fun fundraiser can give us that perspective that we need on our lives. Volunteering can help us to get or stay healthy. Sometimes we need motivation to get up, and that can't probably be any more true than it was when we first began with this pandemic and everyone was stuck at home. We were simply looking for ways just to simply get out of our houses. So when we volunteer, we get moving. Volunteering has never been easier. There are so many opportunities to give back. And for people these days who are at home, who are looking, who are thankful for what they have, and have decided they want to they've made that decision to get out and to volunteer, all it takes is a few keystrokes in a Google search engine. to find somewhere in your local community to volunteer. So if your clubs are looking for volunteers, it needs to be out there. You can't sit around a meeting and say, wow, we really need some more volunteers, because they're not going to come from your families. They're already helping. So make sure that you're sharing that information with your community that you're looking for volunteers. Volunteering creates empowerment. Paying it forward in this day and age is something that we're all too familiar with. You may have been in line at a Starbucks and got to the window and realized that somebody in line in front of you had paid for your coffee, which then in turn made you feel fantastic, and you pay for the person in line behind you. We all know somebody who needs a helping hand. Maybe at one point in our lives, it was us that needed somebody to help us out. So when we think about that, it not only helps those in our community, but empowers us. And I think a lot of times what we do is, once we get that feel-good feeling, it's like a drug, and we want more of it. You want somebody to tell you, thank you so much for what you do. Doing good is important. In our society today, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so overwhelmed with the news of what's going on around us. We have days in our house where I'm like, no more news. I just can't. If I can't watch something funny or scary or entertaining, I can't. We just can't watch the news anymore. But on the news, we do occasionally get those heartwarming stories. That's more than depressing. It's more than sad. And so we have to understand that for us, we need to get out and volunteer. We need to allow people the opportunity to get out and volunteer, because it takes their mind off of what's going on around them. Volunteering can offer unique and exciting opportunities. And sometimes we may volunteer for something without realizing exactly what we might get out of it. My club does a flag program, and one year for 4th of July, the lady that was supposed to pick up flags with me got sick in the middle of the day and couldn't go. Now, granted, remember this, it is North Texas. It's 110 degrees, 4th of July, 6 o'clock in the evening, and we're out picking up flags. And so my husband graciously volunteered to go with me. I say graciously because he complained every step of the way for almost the whole entire time, until we got to one of the very last houses. And when the little old lady came out of her house and said, thank you so much for the flag and for giving me the opportunity to tell the community how much I love my country, my husband said, thank you, and smiled. And I kind of looked at him and thought, you do not get to say thank you. You have done nothing but complain. But it was probably at that moment when he realized that we do this not for other people, and not for ourselves, but for other people. And so he kind of got out of his head a little bit at that moment, and has volunteered to help me with that project since then. 8 says, meeting like-minded, motivated people positive people is super easy. And I'm going to come back to this one in just a little bit. 9 says, volunteering sets a good example for others. Are you a talk the talk kind of person or a walk the walk kind of person? It's easy to sit around and talk about what's going on in our communities and what needs to be done, but it's much more difficult to make that decision to get up off our couches, out of our homes, out of our comfort zones, and do something about it to help other people. It's a good way to bridge the gap between yourself and others who may perceive you as different. In this day and age, social media and the news at our fingertips, we need to learn to see the issues from the other person's point of view. Do you take the time to see both sides of the story, or do you make up your mind immediately? Working with others from a variety of backgrounds can give us the perspective that we need that's about the world that's going on around us. Volunteering is a great way to build a resume. I share this with my high school students. We do an event every year that's called Teens Make a Difference, and teens from all over our community get out and help different organizations with whatever it is that they need to have done. A few years ago, I took high school girls and we built a fence. We have a local organization that's called Chain Off. It is for those people who have dogs in their homes, but those dogs don't have a fence in their backyard. So in order for them to be outside, they have to be on a chain. Locally, we have passed an ordinance that says that that can't happen anymore. So it was out of the necessity of that this organization was born. And to see high school girls digging holes, pouring concrete, putting up fences, it absolutely made my heart so happy. I just can't even tell you. So it just, and I tell them that is something that you put on your resume. Our club gives scholarships away. And a few years back, I made the comment of, we ask them how they did at school, but we don't ask them what they're doing in their community. And as a service organization, I think that we need to really and truly be looking at these kids who may not be the best students, but they are doing everything they can to give back in their community. And that's what Sertoma is all about, is making a difference. And so why not teach our young people how to make a difference? And of course, last but not least, there's always a personal tie to the cause. If there's a connection between the volunteer position and your own life, you will find it even more satisfying. So why choose to volunteer for an organization that you don't have a personal connection to? With more opportunities to volunteer than ever, finding something that matches your passions is simply just a Google search away. Okay, so Gretchen, why do we care about why people volunteer? So now I'm going back to number 8. In the benefits of volunteering, meeting like-minded, motivated, positive people is super easy. When we begin to think about adding volunteers to our events, we should look for people that fit that description. We can then match volunteers to specific events. Putting people in the right positions will not only ensure that they get something out of the experience, but it adds to the fact that they will hopefully come back again and again to volunteer, maybe not only at that specific event, but other events. No one wants to do something if they have no connection to it, or if they feel like they're not getting anything in return. So what you should do is look for volunteers who have a connection to your event. So where do we find volunteers? I really truly wish I had a perfect place that I could say, here's a list of where you can find volunteers for your events. But we all know that our communities are all different. We do not all have the same opportunities for getting volunteers. But some great options are local high schools or colleges. My club, when our flag program got to the point where we're an all women's club, where these women were struggling to get all these flags put out, reached out to the local JROTC at our high school and added them. Those members needed both community service hours and PT hours, and helping out with the flag program gave them both that opportunity. Another great option might be Boys or Girl Scout troops, fraternities or sororities, or other different clubs at local high schools. If you have a National Honor Society at your local high school, they're required to have a specific number of community service hours every year. So if you've got an event and you're having a hard time putting volunteers in it, reach out to some of those places, those high schools and colleges around you, and see who's looking for an opportunity to get some community service options. One great option I want to suggest to you, for those of you who are not already there, is our Sertoma Members Corner on Facebook. This is the place where Sertomans from all across the country can share and connect with ideas that they have, where they found things, what has worked for them. So you don't have to look beyond our Sertoma family for what you're looking for. You can simply just go to the Sertoma Members Corner and say, hey, my club wants to do this. Has anybody else done it? And where did you find the volunteer staff for it? So if you want to do that, make sure that you get joined into that Sertoma Members Corner, and then not only ask for advice, but give advice. Hey, we did this great event, and this is where we got our volunteers for it, and this is what you should also try. Okay, so you have some really great volunteers. And now they come back to event after event to help out. Is that all there is to this? I do not think there's many Sertoma clubs out there who can say, you know what, we have more than enough members. We don't really need any more. We're okay. But if we think back to reason number 8 for why people volunteer, meeting like-minded, motivated, positive people, then we can ask the question, now what? You have given them a taste of what it means to not only be a part of your club, but hopefully Sertoma as a whole. You've hooked them. Now it's time to reel them in. Now that first impression comes into play. Not only do you want them to enjoy the volunteer experience, but you want them to see that your club fits into their idea of what giving back looks like. So now let's go back to that original question of what is your club's first impression and what does it look like? Is it appealing to others? Does it make people want to volunteer for your club and potentially join your club? That's the question that we're all asking. And in this day and age of looking for volunteers, ways to give back, ways to raise money, and adding more members to our club, it all is going to come back to what the impression is that your Sertoma club gives to your community. All right, so does anybody have any questions or comments that I can answer? Let me get away from my screen and pop back open the chat and look and see. Oh, I love, Nancy, thank you for sharing that Carson Valley Sertoma Club has that same philosophy. A lot of times the kids who are the smartest and the brightest get hundreds and thousands of dollars for scholarships every year. But those kids who just want to go to college, to get out of the situation they're in, to make their life a better place, may not have been the best students, but by gosh, they may have been the best people. And so I agree. I think that we need to make sure that those kids get the same opportunities that all of our kids are getting. We, as this generation, have to teach the next generation how to give back. It's really scary because we talk about how they're a head down generation. They're always looking at their phones, or they're in their own little world. But I'm going to tell you right now, that can't be farther from the truth. Yes, they may be connected to their phones, but those are the kids that can get your message out. So give them the opportunity to get out there and be part of something bigger than themselves. Wow, that was easy. Y'all are easy in the Mountain West.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
If you have questions for Gretchen, now's the time, please, before she closes off. I'm seeing 3 questions. They're more just thank yous and comments and instructions. Okay. Nobody's got questions for you. You did a great job, Gretchen. Thank you very much. It was awesome.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Mountain West, you're an amazing group of Sertomans, and I'm ready for life to get back to normal so we can all get big hugs, because I know I've been missing some from my sisters out there and everybody else. But thank you again, Mountain West. You're awesome.
Thank you, Gretchen. So a couple of things. I got a message that Father Chris had a power outage, and that's why he couldn't join us. I also got a reminder that today is John Kelly's birthday, not just Marty Morgan's. So happy birthday, John. Appreciate you joining us on your birthday. And by now, almost everybody's noticed the chat feature and the Q&A buttons down at the bottom in the middle of your screen at the bottom. You click on those and you can type in questions or comments. you can speak to each other or say hello to your friends. Janice posted one of the messages that describes the chat room as like being out in the hall and talking to your friends while the sessions are going on inside. So we all love to have the social interaction. The chat function or feature is an opportunity to do that. Thank you again, Gretchen. I just want to say, for those of you who don't know, Gretchen is a high school teacher, and her skills as a teacher showed today. I think what she told us about volunteering was very helpful and very much appreciated. Now I want to introduce someone who will present an appeal for the annual fund. It's, of course, Pat White. She's on the agenda. Pat, as you know, is traditionally our Sergeant at Arms. She's really disappointed that she couldn't fill that role this time. There wasn't a practical way to conduct the Sergeant at Arms program. But what really makes her disappointed is she bought a black hat, especially for today's event. And I got to tell you, she's pretty scary in the black hat. So I'm glad we have another year to get ready for that. She will put us all through our paces in Mesa next year. Pat has been a district governor, and she's been an FDR. She's a distinguished governor, distinguished FDR. She's really always does an outstanding job in whatever role she's given. But before I bring her on, I want to acknowledge Roger Donato from Mesa is our regional development chair. And he's facing some health challenges right now that don't allow him to give this presentation, but he has tapped Pat to fill his role today. And so I want to tell you, Roger, please get well soon. And Pat, take it away.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm glad to be able to be here today with you for the Mountain West Convention. And thanks for everybody for joining us. So we're going to kind of get started on this. Quickly do this. There we go. My name, obviously, Pat White. I'm here to talk about Sertoma's mission and how we can participate in it. Are you familiar with our mission? Everybody can obviously read this. This mission is why we are all part of Sertoma. Have you ever asked yourself how you can help with that mission? Well, through the work of our members and clubs, Sertoma helps in 4 ways. Philanthropy through the annual fund support of scholarships and adopt an agency grants, through awareness and education with Safe Ears, and through Hearing Charities of America with their Sound Investment Program and their Hearing Aid Project. Today, we're going to focus on the annual fund, what it does, and how you can help. Last year, the annual fund awarded 17 adopt an agency grants for a total of $77,245. Grants are between $2,500 and $5,000, and they help our affiliate organizations with hearing health programs and projects. There are also professional grants, professional education grants of $425 to help affiliate staff members attend conferences and training. In the Mountain West last year, 5 grants were awarded to affiliates from Platte Canyon, South Glen, and Jeffco, all in the Denver area, Midtown in Tucson, and then there was 1 grant to the International Hearing Dog organization that didn't appear to have a sponsor. We also provided last year 40 hard of hearing and deaf scholarships and 40 communicative disorder scholarships. For the first time, I think in many years, that number is down a little bit. I believe normally we give 50 and 50. This year, the annual fund goal is to raise $190,000. As of Monday, the annual fund had raised $28,316. 5540 of that is from the Mountain West. Each gift, large or small, makes a difference in these programs and in people's lives. You're probably all familiar with the individual recognition levels that haven't changed from last year's. The 2021 pin, you can see that in the corner there, blue background and a raised star. Members get a fellow pin if they make a donation of $125 or above. Higher levels get the pin and a tab indicating their donation level. Last year, the Mountain West had 69 fellows, 4 patrons, 5 benefactors, and 1 sponsor. There's also a host of members who contributed at a level below fellow for a total of $25,610. So far this year in the Mountain West, there are 21 fellows, 1 patron, 2 benefactors, and 1 sponsor. But hey, we're just getting started. We're only 3 months into the Sertoma year, so there's hope. Let's talk club level donations. The 100% club is easiest. Just club gives $25 per member. If you do it before December 1st, you're considered an early bird club, but you can do it anytime during the year. The club can either contribute the $25 themselves for each member, or they can ask their members to contribute to the club, and then the club will turn it around and give it to the annual fund. Last year, we had 16 clubs out of 34 who participated at the 100% club level. I think there's even one, if I'm not mistaken, that's Mesa that contributes at the 100% fellow club, which means they contributed $125 for every club member. Cool, good on Mesa for that. 13 were early bird people, and then there was also 1 benefactor club last year. This year so far, I think we have 5 clubs. I know about at least 2, but I've heard that there are 3 more that are going to contribute at early bird level. And make sure your clubs know that they can use sponsorship funds for these gifts. Let's strive for a better than 50% of the clubs doing 100% member level this year. I think I'm going to really fly through this presentation. If every Sertoma gave at the fellow level, we'd raise over $1 million. You can see here the different levels that we'd like to get donations from. And I kind of did some calculation earlier, and if every Sertoman, be it through their club, through 100% or not, gave just $25, we would meet that goal of $190,000. And given the number of people that historically have given at the higher levels of benefactor and sponsor and fellow, I'm sure we could definitely surpass that level and maybe get back to giving out more grants and more scholarships. You can see at the bottom there, the Mountain West region goal is $30,000. I think all this is doable. It's definitely doable. One other way we can give to the annual fund is if we host a Celebrate Sound event, because part of the 40% of the funds that support that the national gets, Sertoma gets from the Celebrate Sound event goes to grants and scholarships, and plus all the other awareness programs that we do. And just to kind of motivate you a little bit for scholarships, I want you to meet Samuel. He received a Sertoma scholarship so he could start his freshman year. Samuel was born with bilateral hearing loss, had a father that was abusive, neglectful, and an alcoholic, and floated at or below the poverty line for most of his childhood. But Samuel overcame these and many other challenges along the way. He has a 4.0 GPA. He was president of his high school's National Honor Society. He was vice president of the Young Men's Service League, and he was awarded the Gold Medal Presidential Service Volunteer Award. He sure looks happy in this picture, and he is, because he's fulfilling his dream of going to Emory University. We as Sertomans came together and made this scholarship happen for Daniel. Together, we as Sertomans make the annual fund a big player in America's hearing health community. So obviously, as I said, one of the main ways that Sertoma as an organization, there are several ways that you can actually donate to the annual fund and help our region and our organization nationally with its goal. Normally at this point in the convention, as you remember, we would be asking for live donations, handing out pledge forms, collecting checks. Can't do that this year, obviously, but we can still step up to the plate as individuals and clubs and help the annual fund continue its great works. For those techie people out there in the audience, we now have the ability to text MTWESTAF to 44321 and make your donation via texting, or you can go online to donate at members.sertoma.org/make-a-gift. And for you Luddites out there, you can just mail in a check. So anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for letting me spend this time talking to you today. I might be able to field some questions if you want me to do that. But in the meantime, definitely consider contributing to the annual fund, either personally or get your club more involved in contributing to them. So I'm back. Are there any questions or anything? Mr. Steve?
There was one comment, someone was asking, it's moved. Norm Borchers was asking about getting a copy of the presentation. And I just wanted to let everybody know, we will get these all processed, and the your convention will be online for everybody that couldn't make it to actually go through the whole thing, as well as they can also contact Brian Regal here at headquarters to get the PowerPoint if they need that directly.
Yeah, and this was actually pieced together from a much broader presentation about Sertoma and all its annual fund and everything else it does, because they wanted me to focus on the annual fund. And so that's why I kind of consolidated it down. It's really actually about a 20 or 25-minute presentation that talks about all the things from Celebrate Sound to sound investment and the hearing aid project and everything else that Sertoma does in the way of national programs and projects. So that definitely, I think, would be one that would be available to everybody, and is probably more comprehensive for getting people to contribute to Sertoma than this one, because this was annual fund focused. Anything else?
So I also want to point out that Janice has posted a message that describes a way to donate to the annual fund through texting. So there's instructions on how to text in a donation.
Okay, I was going to say, you did see that last screen, right, that talked about that?
No, I've been doing 98 things while you were talking.
All right, I'm gone. Thank you much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thanks, Pat. That was very helpful. And I hope that people are inspired today to reach for their wallets and donate to the annual fund. Now we're going to take, well, before we take our break, a couple of things. I think that Father Chris is now on. And when we come back, I would like him to give his invocation if he's willing to do that. And I think that's all the business that we need to conduct before we take our break. During the break, there will be posting Q&As or facts rather, about the S-Hole Award. And there will be a list of past winners that will be displayed. So if you want to take a look at that during the break, that will help those of you who have never been exposed to this outrageous award. Okay, everybody, welcome back. And I think I hear Father Chris, his mic is live. So Father Chris, would you mind giving a tardy invocation? I like to say better late than never, especially when it comes to hearing your kind words.
I'll be honored to do that. Well, good morning, fellow Sertomans. I'm Father Chris Van Liefde. I'm retired priest, and I served as chaplain for the Los Angeles Fire Department for some 25 years. I am presently the vice president of our LAFD Sertoma Club, and it's great to join you. Sorry about the glitch this morning, but we had a power failure. So I know the good Lord has a good sense of humor, and he humbles us all the time. So just join with me in a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, as we come together for this year's convention, we give you thanks for all the blessings you have given us this past year. We pray that you will give us the grace and the strength we need to continue serving you by serving the needs of our communities. We ask your blessing on all those who are suffering from this current pandemic. Bless the doctors, the nurses, and all healthcare workers who are risking their lives each day to care for the sick and the dying. Give wisdom to the scientists who are trying to find a cure. We pray for our first responders of our nation, especially the firefighters battling the fires throughout the western states. We lift up to you the young men and women of our nation serving in the armed forces, especially those in harm's way. Watch over them, Father, and bring them home safely. We ask your blessing on our international board, our local leaders, and the presenters of this convention. Help us all to learn and grow and to discover new ways of serving those around us. Finally, Father, we pray for our country. In these times of uncertainty, help us to choose wisely the leaders for our future. Father, help us not to be afraid of what lies ahead. Fill us with a spirit of hope. Kindle in our hearts the fire of your love for others. For in serving them, we serve you. We ask all this in your holy name, trusting in your love and mercy. Amen.
Thank you, Father. That was wonderful. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks again. Now we're going to enter a 45-minute training period. And the first session will be a TED Talk from Kara Logan Berlin. Ms. Berlin is a career fundraiser, and she's really good at it. And she has a lot to teach us on the subject. Hopefully we'll all benefit from her perspective. So here's her video.
I'm here today to talk about fundraising, or as you probably think of it, the other F word. Because if you want to change the world, you have to know how to pay for it. I'm not talking about being a good person. You can do that for free. I'm here today to talk about fundraising, or as you probably think of it, the other F word. Because if you want to change the world, you have to know how to pay for it. I'm not talking about being a good person. You can do that for free. I'm talking about if you want to create something, start something, galvanize a community, improve the lives of others, run for office. Every day, great ideas die on the vine because they don't have capital to get off the ground. And all of the work, the thought, the vision that goes into the idea isn't worth much if you can't pay your bills. And while most of the greatest social movements in history were powered purely by an idea and people's belief in that idea, real change and impact require resources. Real people do this work. They need real change.
Is this coming across okay?
Resources to actually make it happen. The people that believe in this work
Yeah, we can hear it.
to do it. That's where I come in. I get essential resources into the hands of people and visionaries on the front lines doing work that matters. We spend the majority of our waking hours working. We spend more time working than we do with our loved ones. So I decided early on that I have to love my work and it has to add value. And while I would love to be one of these people who spearheads, social change from the ground up, the thing I realized early on in my nonprofit career is that the thing I'm good at, the thing I'm really good at, is raising money. And I love it. I think it is a privilege to work alongside bold, ambitious, optimistic leaders in the organizations they serve. So I teach people how to do the thing I'm good at, because the more people that learn how to be good at my end of this work, the more work will get done. And I teach everyone. I teach CEOs and presidents and boards of directors and EDs. I teach development directors and all sorts of teams and nonprofit newbies, social change agents and candidates. I teach anyone that wants to do something extraordinary how to fund their dream. My dream is that there will be more people like me doing this work well, and that development will be an undergraduate course at universities so that fundraising animals like me will find this job out of the gate instead of discovering it years later accidentally. I even have the curriculum developed, short of overhauling undergraduate course requirements. I think tonight's probably a good first step to get people to think about fundraising more as an opportunity and less as a dirty word. If you want to change the world, you have to know how to pay for it. To do that well, you have to understand three big things: your feelings about wealth and money, the importance of building relationships, and how to ask for what you want. Let's start at the top, your feelings about wealth and money. What is your relationship to money? Money is complicated. It makes everyone squeamish. It makes everyone act kind of weird. Anyone who's ever had to split the check after dinner with friends can tell you this. Imagine what it was like, before Venmo. To help people learn how to raise money, you have to help them understand their deal with money, because everybody has baggage. Grow up poor, baggage. Grow up rich, baggage. Mad or envious that other people have more money than you, baggage. Think people with money are smarter than you, baggage. Feel guilty that you have more money than other people. That's some first class baggage. Still baggage, people, it's still baggage. So whatever your deal is with your baggage, you have to reconcile it if you're going to be able to ask for money. And here's a little tip about asking people for money. The only difference about really wealthy people and us is that they have more money than us. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. They come with their own baggage. When you think about how to do this work, it's important to remember that money makes the world go round. You hear that all the time, but it's true. Whether you're a nonprofit, for-profit, or you pay your own bills. We often feel like talking about it is this icky, embarrassing, ugly thing, but it's just money and it's a fact of life. So how you feel about it directly affects how you approach it. Like everyone else, when I started out in this work, I had to examine and understand my own feelings about wealth and money, and I had to learn how to separate them from how I feel about raising money for important causes. How I feel about asking for money to help people do good work in the world is not the same as how I feel about asking for money for myself. This is an important distinction. When I go and talk to someone, I'm not asking them to pay my mortgage. I'm giving them an opportunity to invest in an idea that's going to change the world for the better. Why should I feel bad about that? The answer is that I shouldn't. I wouldn't feel bad about giving them the inside tip on a hot stock. And I'm not going to feel bad about giving them the inside tip on empowering social change either. If you want to be good at raising money, You have to be able to reframe the ask, both for yourself and for other people, as an opportunity. Next, you have to get prepared to build some relationships. People give to people, they don't just give to ideas. And if they don't believe in the person running the place, you're already dead in the water. This is true whether you're in stocks or venture capital, politics or nonprofits. Building a relationship with people takes work. You have to care about more than just what you want or need. You have to also value what someone else wants or need. I know it's a shocking, terrible idea, but oftentimes closing gifts is understanding the person more than it's important to know the product. And if you think building a relationship with people takes work, building a relationship with someone you're asking for money from takes work, and it takes homework. Have you done any research? Do you have any idea what they care about? Do you know why they should invest in your work? Can you answer that question in less than 30 seconds? If you can't, the meeting's gonna be pretty rough. And the answer can't be because they're super rich and they live in your zip code. When you talk to people and understand what they care about, it has to be in person. Fundraising is relational, it's not transactional. And you have to ask them questions. When I sit down with a donor, it goes something like this. Hi, thanks so much for seeing me. How have you been? Did you guys go anywhere fun over holiday? Nice, I love Mexico. Do you always go to the same place? Oh, that's awesome. Are those your kids? They're so cute. How old are they? Where are they in school? Oh, that's a great school. Are you guys very involved there? Your spouse is on the board. How's that? I bet it's a ton of work. How do you guys meet? Oh, it's Santa Clara. That's awesome. Are you super involved in the alumni network? Oh, that's so interesting. Where do you guys live again? Oh, that's great. Is that your boat? I literally go through all of these things, right? And you know why? Because guess what I know now? I know they're out 120 grand a year in schooling for the next 12 years, right? Spouse is on the board of the kids' school. I know they're out 100K probably. That's a six figure. They're both involved in their school alumni. That's probably 25K. They told me they live on the Upper East Side. I can look up their apartment online and I can find out what their mortgage is. And I know they own a second home in Mexico. Oh, and they own a boat, which is like funny money, right? So what I now understand, and it's true, what I now understand is that their $1,000 gift is probably more of a starter gift. And I should be thinking about ways to help them partner with us and invest in a more meaningful way. I know this sounds a tad mercenary. I'm not confused about how it sounds, but here's what I want to tell you, because this is the part that all my clients always want to skip because they think it's the fluff and it's not important. If you don't understand what they care about and what they value, how are you ever going to be able to tell them about your work, right? I want them to fund our work. I do. But I also want them to have a really meaningful experience as a donor so that they feel like we're partners and they're not an ATM, right? So it's important to ask the questions, because the more you know about them and you know what they value, the more you can steer the conversation in a direction about your work that will resonate for them. And once you get past the get to know you part, you get into the fun stuff. Like, why are you philanthropic at all, right? Why do you invest in new ideas? Do you want giving back to be a value you pass on to your children? Can we help you do that? It's really awesome. It's meaningful. And remember, it's a conversation. It's not a cross-examination. It's not an interview. Don't walk in there and tell them everything you already know about them because you did your research. You don't get extra points for knowing how to use Google. It's 75% them talking, 25% you listening. It's better to be a good listener than a good showman. And once you understand what they care about, you can talk to them about what you care about, right? You can tell them about you. Now, when you do this, don't get too deep into the weeds or you'll lose them. It's a lot like when I sit down with guys in finance, right? And I say, you know, how's work? I'm looking for like a thumbs up, thumbs down. But what I get sometimes is like a long, just description of how the markets are trending, and my brain leaves my body and starts to think about what time my dry cleaner closes. Like, I don't have capacity for that, and they don't have capacity for that level of detail of our work. If they want it, they'll ask you the questions. It's this thing that happens over and over, because here's an example. I worked with a CEO once, and I was hired to teach him how to talk to human people like a human person. It was a very difficult job. So he kept getting great donor meetings and he wasn't closing any gifts. And I could not figure out what the problem was. So finally I was like, I'm just gonna come with you. It's gonna be great. So I went with him to meetings, and what would happen was he was getting into such detail with the donors that their eyes were glazing over. And then after he was done with his 15-minute pitch, they literally would say, this happened like 3 times in a row. God, that sounds great. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. And that was the meeting, which was obviously not the outcome we were looking for. So he couldn't understand what I was trying to say to him, that I finally, like in an act of sheer desperation, was like, you know what I love? I love NASA. I love NASA. I think it is unbelievably amazing we have figured out how to get a person to the moon. I think it's awesome. I think the idea of getting someone to the moon and they walk on the moon, and God, I love rocket ships. I love rocket ships. Rocket ships are amazing. But if you start to tell me about the rocket ship and how it gets to the moon and the math and the science equations on how the rocket ship gets to the moon, I promise you I will hang myself with my own hair. I was like, that is not how you tell people about your work. What is the need? Like, what's the point, right? How do you address the need? Why are you better at it than anybody else? And what can they do what can you do to make it about them, right? How can they help you get to the moon? That's the good stuff. If you're able to do that, you're probably ready to make the ask. Now, I don't expect everyone to be super excited to ask people for money. That's why development is an actual profession and not an awkward hobby. Naturally, great fundraisers love people. They can and will talk to anyone. They can find common ground with anyone. They're your friends that talk to people in the elevator or at the grocery store. They believe in the work required to both build relationships and keep them. And they naturally have a high tolerance for rejection. But I don't expect everyone to be a natural, and you don't have to be a natural to raise money. You just have to respect the people and the process and do the work. Will you reconcile your baggage? Will you commit to build relationships? If you will, you're ready to make the ask. And the ask is oftentimes as simple as using the phrase, would you consider? Would you consider becoming a monthly donor? Would you consider increasing your support to $100? Would you consider investing in our work at the $1 million level? Would you consider does a couple of awesome things. One, it gives the donor an easy way to out, like they can say no without it being yes, no. And two, it gives you a second ask. Well, what would you consider? It's good, right? When you do this, remember, you're not asking for yourself. You're asking on behalf of all of the people you serve or are touched by your genius. This isn't a personal favor, right? Feel proud of the ask. It's incredible that you do this work. Don't try to be someone you're not. You're going to go to these meetings and think you need to big shot it. Be yourself. Authenticity matters. Nobody likes a phony. Just be yourself. And please, please don't torpedo your own ask. What I mean by this is don't walk into the meeting and say, I had an ED that did this all the time. I stopped inviting him. He'd say, we're not here today to ask you for money. Yes, we are. That's exactly why that's why we're here today. Don't do that. Don't say whatever you can do to help. That is hands down the fastest way to get the smallest possible gift someone thinks they can give you and get away with. Not kidding. And don't take it back. Once you've made the ask, would you consider supporting us at the $10,000 level? Or the 5? Or the 2? Or 1? You know what? Take the year off. You're the best. Thanks. Don't do that. Ask the question. Wait till 10. Count to 10 before you speak again. Keep your face like this. They are grown-ups. They have all the power in this situation. They can answer the question. Don't take it back. Which brings me to my favorite. Don't ask, don't get. If you don't make an actual ask, no one will give you actual money. And if no one gives you actual money, you actually can't do anything with it. It's very simple. Don't ask, don't get. Listen, I would love to live in a world where we didn't have to ask people for money to do important work that will change people's lives. I would love to not have to teach people how to make a case for the importance of feeding and housing and educating people. But this is the world that we live in. And if we're committed to doing this work and doing it well, we have to be as committed to the art of funding this work as we are to the art of executing it. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's really important. We have to be as committed to the art of funding our work as that will change people's lives. It's an opportunity because at its core, that's what it is. And how great is that? Thank you.
Well, sorry about the technical problems. My Zoom expert offered to try to solve them, but my call was to just keep it moving for the sake of time. As was pointed out by Janice, this is a YouTube. You can see this talk on YouTube. It's if you don't feel like you got all of what she was saying, it's worth listening to. Now we have a 2-woman panel on fundraising during the pandemic. And I'm just going to throw it to Vicki Wynn from Glen Eagle and Cindy Markham from South Glen. Thank you.
Hi, guys. There we go. There we go. Hi, everybody. I'm Vicki Wynn. I'm a veterinarian in Colorado Springs. I am also a corporate sponsor and board member for Glen Eagle Sertoma. Today, well, first of all, hi. I'm so glad to see everybody here today. Thanks for coming. I hope that everyone is not only surviving 2020, but is finding ways to actually thrive in 2020. So that's what we're kind of here to talk about. So I am a co-chair with Mary Obanoff for one of our biggest fundraisers, Spirits of Spring, for Glen Eagle Sertoma. So every year, I think we're in our, gosh, we're up to 17th, 18th annual at this point. We have a food and wine tasting event at a hotel in downtown Colorado Springs, where we have food vendors and wine and spirit vendors come, and we have a large silent auction and a live auction. And it's always been a wonderfully fun event. People love to come and mingle and do the silent auction and the online, the live auction. And we typically have upwards of 100 different silent auction items. So our event was scheduled for April of this year. So you can imagine when everything started to be shut down, we did a little panicking. And we tried to kind of put off the event. We moved it to June. And as we were collecting things for our auction and trying to regroup, we finally had to make the decision that we were not going to be able to have the live or the in-person event. And so we, as a board, tried to decide, well, shall we just shelve the event altogether and wait until next year? Or should we try to be creative and do something different? And this is one of our 2 major fundraisers that brings in a lot of our donations to help our community. So as things were progressing, we decided to try to do an online auction. And so we took the donations that we had, and that was about 2/3 of what we normally have. And we partnered with a local auction house, Ross Auction House, who does lots of online auctions as well as in-person auctions. They guided us through how to take pictures of our items. They helped us with some advertising, and then we advertised to all of our prior participants. So we collect emails and phone numbers from people who came to the live event in years past. And so we decided to try to go ahead and move forward to raise some money for our community by taking that live event to an online event. And so there was some work involved, but the great thing that we found was that some people who absolutely could not make the live event because they were at high risk with the COVID were still able to help us in collecting donations, advertising. And then the way that the event actually took place is you take pictures of all your items, you do a description, and then ours was up live for a whole week. And so we were able to advertise to people to go online. we could put a little explanation of who we were and why we were raising money. And then the items were actually there for people to view for a whole week. And then they would get alerts via their mobile device or email telling them that someone had outbid them for the whole week. So it was pretty fun to be able to continue to bid all week long on these items. And then they were given a time frame at the end as things shut down, everything shut down in kind of a certain order. And so I think it was really important for us as a group to realize that as Sertoma evolves, and we've talked about this for the last few years in Sertoma at our regional conventions and national, that we need to also evolve as clubs. And so finding different creative ways to get in with the younger generation and to still be viable and able to fundraise in this climate in our society. And so online auction was a really, really fabulous idea. There was still some work involved with collecting the donations, taking pictures, and putting them on with the descriptions. But I think that as clubs out there across the nation, this is definitely something that you can do if you are unable to have live fundraising events. It's something that you can find an online platform, and they will walk you through all the details. There are some costs associated with that. Wonderfully, Ross Auction House here in Colorado Springs donated all of their costs to Glen Eagle Sertoma, so we didn't have a large amount of costs as far as the platform was concerned. But there are some fees usually with other platforms. But this is a wonderful way for us to still be able to fundraise, bring in money for the community of Colorado Springs and surrounding areas, and not jeopardize the health of anybody involved. If we go forward next year, which we already have a planned live event in April, we are considering kind of a hybrid event where we can still do online auction as well as in-person auction. And so because of the success of the online version, we really feel like that's probably the wave of the future. And so when you can't have the in-person meetings, or creating a hybrid where the younger generation feels very comfortable with using their cell phones and things to do online auctions, I think it's a wonderful way for Sertoma to move forward and be able to grab in that younger generation and help them find a way to help fundraise for their community as well. Let's see, I don't know if I forgot anything else. Cindy, do you have anything else that you have questions about that, or anything to input from me?
I don't think so. I have a couple of things that that I'm going to talk about. A couple of one fundraiser and one event that that South Glen has gone ahead and done this year. We have an annual golf tournament every year, and so way back in March, it was like, oh my gosh, how in the world are we ever going to be able to do a golf tournament? People are close together, all of that sort of thing. Luckily, we didn't have the event scheduled until August, so we had a little bit of time to worry about it. But there were several difficulties that we knew we were going to have to overcome. One, sponsorships. How in the world are we going to get people to sponsor a golf tournament? Two, how are we ever going to get people to sign up and come and play in our golf tournament? Free food after a golf tournament. We usually have a really big dinner afterwards that's catered or prepared by our Sertomans. How in the world are we going to be able to offer people food after our golf tournament? And lastly, prizes. How are we going to hand out prizes? Can we do it safely? Do we have to disinfect everything? How in the world are we going to be able to pull this fundraiser off? And this particular fundraiser is our biggest fundraiser for the last 9 years. In the end, there were a lot of easy solutions to all of these problems. With respect to sponsorships, people wanted to sponsor our golf tournament. I was really surprised in the number of sponsors that we had this year, surpassed every other year that we've had the golf tournament. And part of that, when we were approaching the sponsors, the explanation was, we have this money in our budget to give away and nobody's approaching us, nobody's having their fundraisers. We're happy to sponsor your golf tournament. So that was an easy one. The second one, people really wanted to play golf. They were tired of sitting around at home, tired of not being able to go out of their homes. And luckily, golf was one of the few things that we were really able to do. You can social distance pretty well at a golf tournament, as long as you make sure and tell people that they need to stay apart. And so that one worked out really well. With respect to the food, that was a little bit more difficult. We changed our dinner. Instead of having dinner, we had breakfast. which was easy because we could do breakfast burritos and those are wrapped and those can be handed out. So that's an easy way to change it up. We had our Sertoman volunteers who were masked, they were gloved, and they handed out every single piece of food that we offered to our guests. It ended up being a beautiful day. And so we were able to put tables up outside. We were able to social distance every table, only allowing 4 people to sit at a table, having 1 table come in at a time, getting their food, getting it handed to them. They couldn't touch anything, but the food handed to them, and they were able to go back out to their table and enjoy their lunch afterwards. One of the other things that we did when people came into the golf tournament, we had someone taking their temperatures and signing a waiver, very important. And so in the end, it turned out to be the best golf tournament we've ever had. Raised the most money we'd ever raised in the previous 9 years. Sold out the tournament, had never sold out the tournament before. So the moral of that one is change it up, do some different things, and you'll never know how people might react to it. The second one I want to talk to you about is not a fundraiser, it's about an event that South Glen Sertoma does. We meet twice a month at our local country club, and our country club allows us to meet there for free. That's huge. We love something free. And so our way of thanking the country club for doing this for us is we hold a Pancakes with Santa event every year in December. Oh my gosh, how are we going to do that? You know, we have tables with trays of pancakes, and the kids come up and they grab their pancakes, they get their whipped cream, their toppings, they're doing it all themselves. They're sitting on Santa's lap, they're doing crafts together. How in the heck are we going to pull this event off? Because we really don't want to cancel it. We want to let South Glen know that we appreciate them letting us meet there. So came up with an idea. This year, it's not going to be Pancakes with Santa. It's going to be Stories with Santa. So what we're going to do, Santa's going to be sitting off in the corner of the room by himself on a chair with his mask on and his gloves on. We're going to have families pre-register for the event. So they're going to have to sign up in groups of 4. If they have 1 extra kid, you know, we'll certainly allow that, but no more than 4. We can't have, you know, the 8-person extended family that we've had in the past coming for pancakes. We're going to have them sign up in groups of 4. Sertomans, who will be masked and gloved, will hand out pre-wrapped cookies and a drink to the kids who are seated. They will sit, they will listen to a story with Santa, and then they will be able to wave goodbye to Santa. Unfortunately, there's no sitting on Santa's lap, there's no pictures, that sort of thing. They're going to be able to wave to Santa. They're going to be able to write a letter to Santa. If they bring a written letter, we'll have a mailbox that they can deposit it into. Excuse me. And then we're also going to hand them, Mrs. Claus is going to be standing by the exit. She's going to hand them a candy cane, and she's going to hand them a pre-packaged craft that they can then take home and do at home. So then the next group was going to enter. They're all going to be out. We'll spray some Microban in the room and clean everything up, and the next group will come in. Is this going to take more work? Absolutely. Is it going to take more time? Absolutely. But the good thing about it is we're still going to be able to have fundraisers. We're still going to be able to have events. And that's the whole purpose. And so we can still do everything that we've done, maybe not everything that we've done in the past, but we can do a lot of what we've done in the past. We just need to change our strategy of how we're going to do those things. And look, folks, COVID has wreaked havoc on every single one of us in one form or another, physically, financially, emotionally. Clubs are feeling discouraged. They feel lost. They feel disconnected. They can't meet in person, can't do fundraisers is kind of how we're feeling. We can't hug each other. Y'all know me, hugging is one of the things that I do best out of anything. I couldn't hug my girls for a whole month way back in March. So that was really difficult. The thing that we have to remember is that we really are all in this together, but I say that with a caveat. We're all in the same storm, but we're definitely in different boats. Some of us are sailing along on Lake Havasu with margaritas and having a grand old time. And then there are a lot of us who are in dinghies, and our dinghies has a hole in it, and we got a little Dixie cup and we're trying to get all the water out before we sink. So we might be all in the same storm with COVID, but we're definitely in different boats. And so I think we really need to be cognizant of that. I want you to all know and remember, every little thing you do makes a difference. Every little thing, it makes a difference to someone. You might not raise thousands of dollars with your event or with your fundraiser, but even if you raise $100 and you're able to give that to somebody, you're making a difference to that person. And that's the important thing. Whatever difference you make, if it's small, if it's big, it's still a difference. And that's what's important. My words to you, keep the faith. This too shall pass. And before we know it, we'll be back to meeting in person and back to doing our fundraisers in person, and everything will be great. Does anybody have any questions for Victoria and I?
I just want to bring that back up. I think that's a great point, Cindy, that people out there are in all different, spaces right now. I think it's really good for us to be creative as Sertomans, and we have a lot of people in our groups that are resourceful and creative and can find ways for us to still connect with each other and with our communities. And there are people out there that, like you said, with your golf tournament, our other major fundraiser is our golf tournament as well. And we sold out as well. It was the best one we've ever had. People want to contribute and people want to connect. So it's really important to not forget your members. If you haven't heard from them, if you're not meeting on Zoom and you don't see a familiar face, reach out to your members and reach out to your community and help them find a way to connect. And so I think things that are creative like that, where they can do things without leaving their home if they have to, but still feel like they are connecting with other humans, is super important in this time.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for Vicki or I? Thoughts? I don't see anything in the chat. If nothing else, Steve, we will turn it back over to you. Thank you for listening.
Well, I just want to emphasize what excellent Sertomans the two of you are. That was a great presentation. We learned a lot. And I just want to sum it up this way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if you want to accomplish something and it's challenging, you got to put on your thinking cap and solve problems. And that's what you guys demonstrated in your talks and descriptions of your events today. So thank you again to both Vicki and Cindy. So I'm just going to mention that's the end of our training for today, not the end of the convention. But if we were meeting live, as you all know, when you've attended a convention in the past, there's a lot of training that goes on. And we could conduct a number of trainings today, but and extend this convention. The committee made a decision to limit the time of the convention and therefore limit the numbers of trainings that we could provide you. There's a lot of training videos on the website. And so we recommend that all the clubs that feel like they are not getting enough information and guidance and want training, go on the website, check out the training videos, and pick one that will help your club and play it to your whole club. That's what they're there for, and we encourage you to do that. Now, we are now going to move into the national report from our national treasurer, B. Gabani. And B is the executive committee rep or board rep officially assigned to our convention this year. And she will come on and give us a report from what is happening on the national level. B?
Thank you, Steve. And thank you for having me. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there in person. I was really looking forward to coming to Mesa, Arizona and meeting with the Mountain West Sertomans. Though we've been living through an extremely strange period, it's been very heartwarming to see how the clubs are continuing to hold meetings, host fundraisers, and continue to service mankind. So that is why I'm proud to be a Sertoman. Janice? Janice was good. Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Next slide. At our meeting all the way back in August 2019, your board developed 3 strategic goals that will guide our work. Enhance the value of membership in Sertoma, enhance and develop programs to help clubs with their local work, unite our clubs into a more cohesive Sertoma organization, and I'm proud to say we've continued our work with these goals in mind. Through task force and committee work, we have been able to accomplish a lot. We developed a new process for voting for your regional directors that will expand the number of people who are able to vote. Regional officers will be elected through the same ballot you vote for your national officers. We've changed our club building procedures and requirements. We've also got recognition program that will roll out in the coming weeks to recognize not only the work you do at the national level, but your local service as well. We had made some larger changes as well. The national member classification, which allows people to join Sertoma at the national level, has already changed the complexion of our organization. Sertoma has over 7,000 life members whose clubs have disbanded who have moved away from their club. They're still members, but the way our policies have read in the past, there was no mechanism for them to talk with us about what they were doing or what we were doing. This change immediately created a new home for these members as national life members. We are now able to send them Sertoma publications, and we're also able to let them know about new clubs in their area or identify areas where there's clusters of these folks and help them start a new Sertoma home. Our staff has also developed more than 50 new training modules for your club leadership to use. Most recently, our library has archived a presentation from a professional meeting planner designed specially for your clubs. For the new projects we're taking on this year, we've kept our strategic goal in mind. Most importantly, I'd like to talk about our COVID-19 club relief grants. We know your clubs are not realizing the same level of donations you have in the past. So as you've heard, we freed up $250,000 to help. The deadline to apply has passed, but we're hoping to be able to do more of these kind of initiatives in the future. I'd also like to talk about something we're working hard on at the board level, and that's structure. While the pieces of Vision 2020 went into place last year, we know we are not done. We're continuing the conversation around specialists and also around the roles of directors. How do we define the roles of the board, of specialists? Where do they overlap? These are questions we are asking, and we're looking hard at where we're duplicating our efforts and sadly where the gaps are. Please be on the lookout for surveys on these topics. We want everyone's input to make the best decisions we can. So thank you for your time. And is there any questions?
I want to encourage people to think a bit about what kinds of questions they could ask B, not just as a representative of the board, but also as the national treasurer, and realize that you can post questions on the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we will have a panel discussion. Bee will be on the panel, and you can direct questions to her at that time as well. So if there are no questions directly for Bee, and I don't see any, so let me introduce Executive Director Aaron Enzminger. But Bee, thank you for that presentation. I hope people made note of all the accomplishments that Sertoma is achieving on the national level, and with the staff and the board functioning as a team together. So now we're going to hear from Aaron Enzminger. He has been our executive director since July 1st, 2019. In that short time, he has helped to significantly impact the level of performance on the board. He is most of all a people person, and we're lucky to have him helping us to govern our organization. Aaron, take it away.
Let me spotlight myself here. There we go. So Bee's told you a whole lot about the strategic direction the board's taking. And so I get to tell you some of what's happening here at your HQ office. One of the credentials that I hold is a Certified Association Executive designation. When you study for the CAE, one of the things you learn is crisis management. And usually you tick a few boxes, you learn some processes, and you're all set. I never imagined that in my first year at Sertoma, I'd be putting all of that into practice. Like most everybody, we were under a stay-at-home order in Kansas City here throughout the spring. As a result, we needed to flip to working virtually pretty quickly. So I'm proud to say we were able to do just that, and hopefully no one has noticed much of a skip. We began working via Microsoft Teams, and we also upgraded our phone system so that everyone here has their own numbers. You can find those on the website, and those phones ring directly here to our own cell phones if we're not in the office. So even today, your staff works to try and limit the spread of COVID-19. We're not holding any in-person meetings, even when everyone is in the office. And most of us are in the office about 3 days a week and working virtually for 2 days. However, we're always available. So along with the strategy that Bee outlined, our work here follows the same goals. We're attempting to build a stronger value model for our clubs. And along those lines, I want to highlight some of the work we're doing in membership. Brandon McGrath-Kong, your membership director, has developed an entire membership marketing plan, which includes handout materials, social media posts, lots of other marketing pieces around the 15 reasons to love Sertoma, all of which you can customize for your own club. You can find that entire kit in the member center on the website. We're also working to increase the value of membership. So this is where I get to kind of give you an insight into some things, because very soon you're going to see the full launch of an affiliate program, which is going to give all Sertoma members the opportunity to enjoy discounts on theme parks, restaurants, lots of other retailers. We're waiting for one more retailer, Office Max, to complete their web interface for us, and then we'll be promoting it everywhere. And you're also the first group that I get to tell that our audit for 2019 and 2020 has been completed. And again, we've got a clean report. Those financials will be available for everyone after the board has an opportunity to review at their meeting next week. And for the HCOA side of things, I want to tell you about a really exciting staffing change. We've now got 2 part-time employees working with the Hearing Aid Project, Sarin Sadarin and Savannah Elliott. Both of them are audiology students, and Sharin's actually graduating in May and is working as an audiologist even right now while she helps us. So having their perspectives on what we do is really great for us to have, both on the HCOA side and the Sertoma side. I don't want to take all of your time because it's always a lot of fun to answer questions, but it's my hope that you're seeing some changes from your headquarters office. We've been working hard at communicating more, doing our best to listen to what your club leaders are telling us so that we can help you all serve your communities even better. And in closing, I want to remind everybody that I'm here for all members. I answer all my email eventually, and my phone is available for anyone. And if you email me, you'll see my cell phone and my signature. Please use it. And if you've got any questions about anything, let me know. And lastly, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I'm really looking forward to when I can be with everyone in person in 2021 because I'm super excited. And I loved being there last year, and I can't wait to do it again. And we've got a couple of questions, so I'm ready to fire away. Steve, if you want to go ahead and introduce panel, we'll go ahead and roll with some of the questions we've got.
Okay. We're now going to have a Q&A session with a panel comprised of executive members, executive committee members, and board members. On our panel is our Sertoma president, Joy Newman, our Sertoma president-elect, Daryl Ching. Joy's from Tucson, Daryl's from Honolulu, if you haven't figured that out by now. B. Gabani is from Pennsylvania. She's our treasurer, national treasurer. And Cindy Markham, our director at large from South Glen here in Littleton, Colorado, will also be on the panel. And I'm going to take pot shots from time to time. So who wants to take the floor here? I'll just throw it to the panel.
I'm more than happy to start things out if you like.
Well, I see there's a question about the National Service Project on the hearing loop systems.
You bet. I think we talked about that for a minute or two earlier, but we can talk some more about it now. So our National Service Project has to do with looping, and specifically with portable info loops. We've negotiated with the manufacturer of portable info loops to get a special rate for our clubs. And our goal is to get as many clubs as possible. We'd like for every club to purchase one. Those will all be ordered en masse and will be shipped to everyone after January, and hopefully for presentation during May and Better Speech and Hearing Month. I'm really looking forward, and we're already working on the press releases so that we can talk about all the Sertoma clubs around the country who help all over the place with these portable info loops. Now, our hope is that everyone will be able to donate to a medical office in their community. And so that will be a great thing that we could talk about. All right.
All right,
we've got another one that I think I'm probably really good to talk about. And that one is a 2-for-1 membership plan listed in the 15 Reasons to Love Sertoma. So that 2-for-1 membership plan really is a way of saying that when you join Sertoma at a club level, you really have got membership in 2 different organizations. You've joined your club, and so you get to be a part of all the great things that you're doing at the club level. However, you're also joining a big national organization. And there are some things that we're starting to roll out now, like our affiliate program, where you've got those benefits by being a national member. And so by being a member of Sertoma at the club level, we hope that you can publicize that you're actually joining 2 organizations. So that's it. It's kind of a marketing way of saying that you're joining a club and Sertoma nationally.
I think there's a question from Pat White on the chat room. I want to direct it to Joy. She's asking about the program for utilizing past presidents.
Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Because my Zoom is cutting in and out, so I didn't know. Yeah, this has been something that has been very dear to me. I've often wondered why our past presidents sort of faded off into the sunset once their term was over. And so in talking about this, we decided to see if we could do something about that, find out from them if they were interested in coming back and giving us some assistance. So we have put together a President's Advisory Council where we have 8 past presidents, and they have all agreed that they would like to come and talk with us, have conversations, hear what we are planning for the future, give us some advice and maybe new ideas. And so far we've met only once, but we're going to continue shortly. And I think we're excited about it, and hopefully they are too. It'll be a way for us to it's part of the unifying Sertoma, bringing us together. and, you know, keeping us all together as one big one family.
All right, the next question that's coming to my mind that I'm seeing in the Q&A is about the number of clubs and how much money did clubs benefit from in the COVID-19 grant relief program.
You bet. Let me do a little bit of math here, just to check something, because I want to be sure I'm right. The number of clubs is around 127 clubs, if I remember correctly, and we have $18,000 left. So when you do the math on that, we were able to award about $230,000 through the COVID-19 relief grants. It's one of my favorite things that we've been able to do over the past year.
All right, can you guys access the Q&A stream there? Pick one and have at it.
Well, I wanted to get after Joe's question. So Joe's asking something, a very particular question about how close we are to life members having an easy way to support Sertoma's operations functions. Joe proposed a program to the board soon after.
Aaron, we're losing your audio.
You are? Okay, let's try that. Joe proposed a program to the board soon after his term ended as director to develop a way for life members to be able to contribute to the operations of Sertoma. We've been working on that. That should go live within the next couple of weeks. My biggest hang up is that I need a lot of Janice's help, and she's been super busy over the past 2 months with our regional conventions. But we've started work on that, and that's going to be our next focus right after this one's done.
I don't see any other questions in the Q&A box. So do you want to tackle some of the pre-submitted questions?
I'm happy to. You bet. And I don't want to take all the time. So if anyone wants to jump in, please do. Would you like to fire them at us, Steve?
I don't have them in front of me, so hopefully you guys can access them.
I can
so
do that.
This is Darrell. I can read off the question, and then we can let Aaron answer them. Convention participation, live or virtual. Over the past 10 or 15 years, we have seen convention participation at both region and national levels as a percentage of total membership, with significant decreases in terms of registration and participation. Not discounting the impact of COVID-19 this year, but looking back at previous years and looking ahead to future years as leaders. First, why do you think decreased registration and has been the trend? And second, how do you each, by giving individual responses, assess the impact of this trend on the future success and viability of our organization?
What a cool question. So I can answer these. One of the biggest reasons that convention participation, certainly at the national level, has lagged has been by design. Honestly, conventions have been budgeted to revenue neutral, and registrations have been de-emphasized at a strategic level. The current board and me, we don't plan to go down this path. So our plans, once we're done with our contracts in 2021 in Kansas City, are to begin to travel with our national convention again, just as a point of evidence to this. I'd say at this point, the success of an event is not necessarily necessary to the vitality of Sertoma. We're still budgeting for events to be revenue neutral, and we're not rolling event monies to other avenues. However, there's an experiential component to those events as well, outside of a fiscal aspect. And you do see events and participation in events, whether it's virtual or in person, as important to growing enthusiasm in Sertoma and to the retention in the organization as a result. In my professional experience before, the more a member does, the more likely they are to stay a member. And so that's one of the reasons why we have changed that strategically to start to emphasize participation in conventions and meetings again. There you go. All right, that's that. That's mine on that one.
The second question was, Vision 2020 is a concept of value, and it was presented to the membership with the objective of improving our organization using mission specialists, communication specialists, along with training and support specialists, taking up the slack of what Sertoma leadership saw as a breakdown of effective leadership at the district level, i.e. the district governor. It is the opinion of our elected national, the opinion of our elected national leaders, the executive director and staff, that Vision 2020 is achieving its objective? And are we on the right track to turn our organization around in terms of mission and membership?
Another really good one. You know, we've talked about this. This is, I think, our largest discussion at the board level. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school by saying that. The board members here, if I am, please shush me real quick. But I think, I don't know that you can say at this point whether we're successful or unsuccessful. You know, we've had some fits and starts in implementation, and we're looking really hard at the roles of all of these leadership offices. You know, you see some of the change in that and some of the results of that really hard look this year with some of the hierarchical organization of mission specialists that you're seeing now. And as B pointed out, you know, we're really seeing where the overlap and where the gaps are with our communication specialists and elected officers. That's at the highest level of what we're talking about right now. I think we're not, I think what we're doing is trying to see the things that we didn't know before Vision 2020 went into effect, and how we can start to course correct to ensure that we can use this leadership structure to its best advantage now. So whether we're on track to turn the organization around in terms of mission and membership, that's a question that I think really deserves its own space to answer, but I'll try to answer it in the context of this one. I do think we're on track. We're setting the groundwork to be more nimble and also to work in a more directed fashion rather than doing whatever. We're implementing new membership tactics and new marketing efforts, not just at the national level, but the organization-wide campaigns that clubs can use and be a part of. We're working hard to bring our national members into the fold and find some meaningful work for them to do. Our survey is set to go out on, I believe, Tuesday of this next week to all of our national members to start that conversation with them. And as for mission, we're looking for some real laser-focused ways to help. I'd point to the COVID-19 club grants. I've always said that our mission here is to support what you do, and that's a really focused evidence of that. And also the National Service Project for some examples of how we're really trying to focus in terms of mission to turn that part of it around.
This is Darrell. I just wanted to say something. As a guy that was responsible for building the plan for the communication specialist part of Vision 2020, we knew it wasn't going to get off and immediately make an impact. We knew we were going to have to iterate it over several years and continuously improve that. You are never going to make a change as big as we made, and it will never be as successful the first time. I have never seen that happen. So we knew we were going to have to iterate it. I will tell you that I believe that COVID-19 has actually pushed us into adapting it a lot faster than we normally would have. It has made what we are trying to do basically easier, because it has forced everybody to start communicating. A lot of the clubs are exchanging ideas now through different ways. And that's what one of the communication specialists' mission was, to try to get clubs from different areas to talk to each other and to share ideas. And I think COVID-19 has actually pushed us into adapting what we wanted to do a lot faster. So hopefully we continue to adapt and learn from what's happening now and exchange ideas like we're doing now, because that's what it's all about. I mean, exchanging ideas to make your community better.
I also saw Joy's hand. Joy, I'm going to spotlight you, so you're on. Go for it.
Well, thank you. No, I just wanted to reiterate that this is a living, moving effort. We started talking about putting a strategic plan together when I first came on the board. And when we rolled out Vision 2020, we knew that we were doing something brand new and that was going to take time to evolve and come out at the product that we all desire. And I can tell you that we're working on this now. This is, it's been continuing, and it will be a continual working event. We need to hear from people too. The communications specialists, for instance, we need our members to talk to us, to let us hear from them so that it can be effective. It isn't just one-sided. And so if we all work together, and that's what we're trying to desperately, is to bring everybody together into one organization, I think we're going to be really pleased and proud of our successes.
We have a question from Pat White. What is being done to recruit communication specialists?
I'll take that one because much of that falls on us, the headquarters office. So as of right now, we have a continual effort in our publications to make the call for volunteers. However, at the same time, we have internal discussions all the time whenever we talk to members and someone sounds like they're interested, they're engaged, and would be a good fit for the role. We start to make some personal asks. Now, that said, it is my feeling and my suspicion that as a part of the board discussion, as we start to morph this role a little bit, we'll have something new to publicize, and then we'll have a much stronger push for more communication specialists going forward once that happens, because I would expect that role to start to morph even during this fiscal year.
Carol, do you have any more of the pre-submitted questions to submit?
Oh yeah, there's 4 more. So just to answer Joe Carroll's question on the Q&A, basically Joe is right. You know, communication is a two-way street. It means that people, if your communication specialist calls you, talk to him, please. You know, and then if you don't know who it is, it's posted on the website so you can go and find out. And if not, just call headquarters and they'll let you know. So question number 3, as a follow-up to item number 2 above, leadership development is critical to the survival of any organization, be it volunteer or business with a profit motive. Sertoma has greatly improved the online resources at sertoma.org for clubs to effectively give their officers and members the tools to succeed. Club leadership conferences at the beginning of the year are an obvious use. In the past, this type of training was also done at district conferences, regional conventions, and the national convention. The question is, do you think that the removal of the district level of training is impacting our leadership development?
There we go. So I'd answer that by kind of pointing at what we're doing. You know, as we talked about, we've created 50 new training modules for club officers and clubs to use, and even some of them are at the member level. With those resources and the expanded access to national level events, you know, if you actually, as Daryl alluded to, the expanded access to conventions this year. We have people who are attending regional conventions who are not even in their region. And our national registration has outpaced what it was in person. And also through some of the expanded opportunities. through task forces and committees that we haven't had in the past. I feel like we're starting to provide the tools for leadership development. And as far as evaluation, that's one of the things that's actually on our docket to talk about at the board meeting. So a couple of new ways to do some of the evaluation there. So look for some communication on that coming soon, I think.
I want to make one other comment on that. One of the concepts behind the communication specialist was, as they talked to clubs, if there were issues that club needed training on or something they wanted, they would communicate that to the communication specialist, and the communication specialist would get with the training group, the training specialist, to try to link up somebody to help them with training. So you have to talk to everybody. I mean, talk to us. If you have an issue or you want something, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to try to help you out. The fourth question that was pre-submitted was, in the past, Sertoma provided and distributed the leadership report to Sertoma leaders, governors, certified trainers, and above, that broke down membership by club, indicating membership levels, showing growth or failure to grow. This report provided a method to identify future leaders. It was a valuable tool for highlighting those future leaders that have demonstrated abilities promoting growth and leadership. What can a member today look at to evaluate a candidate for director or vice president? Popularity and a slick resume are good sales tools, but are not always emblematic of true leadership ability. What is the best measurement tool available to us as we look for future leaders?
There we go. I would say, honestly, I think that the best tool available for you is that direct communication in terms of identifying and evaluating future leaders. That's part of what I was alluding to. There's going to be some conversation on how that evaluation happens directly for candidates going forward. As we talk about what directors do, we also talk about how we evaluate those candidates. And so I would look for that to be addressed very directly in the coming weeks. But that said, up to this point, what I would say is the direct conversation and a direct communication with those candidates and those potential leaders going forward.
Can I speak to this?
Please.
My impression is that leadership develops organically, and the leaders in any particular club or area are very mindful of potential leaders who haven't yet emerged. I think it's incumbent upon each club and each area of clubs to identify potential leaders and to take efforts on the club level or old district level to encourage their development. I think it's more of a down-up than up-down process.
Mary has a follow-up in the communications. I want to answer. Mary's back to my question that she's right. I didn't really answer. So whether the removal of district level training is impacting our leadership development. And Mary, I think it would be disingenuous for me to answer that in that way. I can very easily say, no, I don't think it has at all. However, I'm coming at it from a disadvantaged standpoint to answer that question from two ways. A, I wasn't here for any of the district level training. And second, it's easy for me to say that. However, without the input of someone saying, hey, let's do this, or hey, there is a problem here, it's difficult for me to answer that with anything other than here's what I think we're doing to address it. So it's not an attempt to dodge, it's an attempt to answer it the best way that I think I can, if that makes sense.
Daryl, back to your list of pre-submissions.
Okay. The fifth question, as a follow-up or affirmation of the success of Vision 2020, And in the absence of a leadership report, what is the current Sertoma membership and change, plus or minus since June 30th, 2020? And what is the current number of clubs we have in all of Sertoma? How many clubs are currently in the Mountain West region?
There we go. Okay. So our total membership has risen, but that's really a function, as we talked about before we got started here, the way we count National Life members. Our current membership of members who are part of a club is 7,044. Our current total membership of life members who are not part of a club, added to that, it puts it at around 15,000. If you're counting apples to apples, we've seen a drop over the last fiscal year in the 200 range. So that's an apples to apples. Total clubs, about 275. And in the Mountain West region, you've got 35 clubs. So that's my best answer to that one. There you go.
Aaron, do the National Life members contribute dues? Are they providing an income stream?
Only through donations that they would make to the annual fund. They are not providing an income stream to this point to operations of Sertoma. So what I will say though is, I want to echo back to Joe's question, because this is exactly what Joe proposed, was a mechanism for life members nationally and club life members to be able to contribute to that. And that should be live within 3 weeks, hopefully 2.
Steve, let me throw something else in on that. You know, that's something that we're trying to figure out how to do. I mean, we just implemented this year. Aaron had this concept. Now, you know, now we have life members all over the place, as well as we're opening it up to Sertoma members. You know, you can join anywhere. So if you want to join Sertoma, and there's no club around, you can just go and join and become a member. But the question that we're going to have to address on the board and figure out a plan, and if there are any ideas out there, we'd love to hear them, but is how can we use these Sertoma members that are out there, especially the life members, which we have 7,800 something of them, you know, maybe 500 or 1,000 want to still stay involved. How can we use them, or how can we help them to serve their communities where they are right now? You know, how can they contribute to where they're at right now? What kind of ways can we develop programs to help them stay involved? And that part we haven't worked out yet, but that's part of the stuff that we're working on now. And we have to think about what's the best way to do this. So I throw that out to other people. If you have ideas, send them into headquarters.
I want to illuminate this one a little bit. Again, this will address a couple of the questions that are coming through in the chat. I want to talk about the process. So when the board changed policy to make this category of membership available, we knew that we had close to 9,000 of our life members who did not have a club. And so the very first thing we did was we devoted a whole lot of resources to contacting them. And we sent actual, real, old school postal letters to every one of them to say, please tell us who you are and where you're at right now, and make sure we've got the best contact information. Of the ones we got back, we had about 25, 30, maybe even 50 of them that sent back some really touching and fun letters back to us. And they all had a similar theme, which was, I thought my Sertoma days were done when my club disbanded, or when I moved away from my club, I thought I was done with Sertoma. And they're extremely tickled to be able to be contacted by us, and also to know that we care and we want them to be a part of things. So Pat, that's the effort that we're going through, and we continue that in stages. We've contacted directly about 3,000 of them to this point, and we're continuing on to keep going with that.
Are there any other questions?
There's one more question. The last question that was pre-submitted. We know that we have active clubs in Canada. We have in the past had a club or clubs and an affiliation with Sertoma services in Mexico. Can you explain if Sertoma has a presence in Mexico? If yes, what is that presence? If not, what has happened to it?
This is a cool one to answer, and it's kind of fun because at first I got to start out by telling you how it works. Sertoma Nacional in Mexico operates through an affiliation agreement. So in other words, they pay a license fee annually to use the name and to be Sertoma. We had not heard from them for close to a decade. And then in my first year, they paid their licensing fee. And so we started and opened the conversation. That had been continuing. I was learning about Sertoma Nacional and what they do, and how many clubs they have. And then a couple of things happened. Some disasters in Mexico hit part of Sertoma Nacional pretty hard. And then COVID. We were actually talking about coordinating a visit down to Mexico City so I could see what they're doing. And then COVID hit and everything shut down. So I'm still got that line of communication open. We trade emails and phone calls probably once a month. And once everything gets back to some sort of normalcy, we'll be able to figure that out. And I probably will head down there just to see what they're doing and see how we can get everyone a little bit closer with Sertoma Nacional.
Aaron, how did it come about that they paid that licensing fee?
Truly, one day we opened the mail and there was a check. We send an invoice every year, but one day we opened the mail and it was actually there. And so that meant that we had contact information and we could actually talk with them.
Great. Well, if there are no more questions, and I don't know, I haven't checked the chat room or Q&A box.
I think we're caught up.
Okay. We're just about on schedule. We're a little bit ahead of time, but I want to introduce Carolyn Hauptman from Austin Bluffs, Sertoma in Colorado Springs, and she will lead. Carolyn, go ahead and start your video.
We are honoring today those whom we've lost in the last year. Treasure each other in the recognition that we do not know how long we shall have each other. Death is no enemy, but the foundation of gratitude, sympathy, and art. Of all life's pleasures, only love owes no debt to death. Perhaps they're not stars in the sky, but rather openings for our loved ones to shine down to let us know they are happy. We honor our fallen military. We honor our fallen first responders, the police, the firefighters, the EMTs, the doctors, the nurses, and our Sertomans, Michael Arian from Los Angeles Fire Department, John Brunk, Austin Bluffs, Ruth Marie Clark, Iron Horse of Fort Carson, John Coates, Midtown Sertoma Club of Tucson, Elizabeth Crane, Sacramento Valley, Robert Engel, Los Angeles Fire Department, Walter Feiger, Midtown Sertoma Club of Tucson, Dennis Freichel, Littleton, Dorothy Gannon, Dry Creek, Philip Graham, Arapahoe, Chester Henry, Reno and Honolulu, James Hewitt, Littleton, Harry Holmes, Longmont, Howard Kaspler, Roswell, Mike Kelly, Las Cruces, John Lahickey, Los Angeles Fire Department. Donald Mariani, Prospectors. Paul Motzkus, Southwest Sertoma. Ernest Polk, El Paso. Teresa Sanders, Greater Park Hill. Randy Sandman, Southwest. Robert Stein, Arapahoe. Donald Williams, Sertoma Club of Silicon Valley. Paul Wing, Space City Evening. They never quite leave us, our friends who have passed through the shadows of death to the sunlight at last. Their looks yet still remain, the words they spoke we hear, and in a corner of our heart, their face and form appear.
Thank you, Carolyn. And consolation to everyone who has lost a friend or fellow member in the past year. I want to point out that Jim Hewitt from Platte Canyon passed the prior year, but wasn't recognized in our last convention. And so we had him honored here. Now, we're 10 minutes ahead of time. We're going to take a 5-minute break. And when we come back, we'll start with awards presentations. We'll have a candidate announcements. We'll have our business meeting, which I know you're all enthusiastically awaiting. And then we'll have some, I want to have a story from Monica Watts about an event that occurred to her in her travels to Arizona recently. And then I'll do some acknowledgements and thank yous and adjourn the meeting. Okay, everyone, we wanted to take a little break after that solemn ceremony before we start the rest of the convention, but we're back now. So it's my honor to announce the Service to Mankind Award winner in the Mountain West region for the 2019-2020 year. And our winner this year was nominated by Glen Eagle Sertoma Club from Colorado Springs. Her name is Lisa Brandt. I'm not going to read the entire write-up that I got from Glen Eagle, but Lisa has been serving in the area of human trafficking. She conducts events in which she recruits leaders in the community, especially with schools, and performs trainings to enhance awareness of this problem in society. She's been doing this for several years now, and she has workshops, and in the write-up, they talk about the magnitude of this problem. And according to the latest statistics, almost 25 million people are trafficked as individuals in the past year. So this is something that we don't really pay enough attention to. And Lisa is devoting her life to making this her cause. And her efforts have been so effective that she's becoming very well known in this field. So Glen Eagle, congratulations for your nomination as your club winner. And I'm proud to present this award to Lisa Brandt. I will be coming to Glen Eagle in November. I've been invited by the auspicious Dwayne Gritzmaker to come down and give the award in person. There's a plaque to be presented to her at the November Glen Eagle luncheon. So now I would like to recognize Cindy Markham, our Director at Large and esteemed former district governor, who will present the Regional Sertoman of the Year Award.
Thank you, Steve. Hello, everybody. I'm Cindy Markham. Steve asked me to hand out this award and present this year's Sertoman of the Regional Sertoman of the Year, since I am the most recently elected Director at Large. So thank you, Steve. While there were only a few nominations this year, they were all exceptional nominations. And so I'm going to tell you real quick who it is and then go into some stuff that I want to talk about. It is my honor to present this award to my fellow Sertoman and my incredibly dear friend, Monica Watts. So Monica, I know you're at my house, so come over here, please. Come and sit with me, pull your chair up. Here is Miss Monica, our Regional Sertoman of the Year winner. All right, get a little closer so they can see your face. All right. I'm not going to read the submission that they wrote by her club. I just want to add some information that I know about Monica. One of the words that was used to describe Monica by her club is enthusiastic. So I got out my trusty thesaurus and I looked up synonyms for the word enthusiastic. These ones are my favorites and they describe Monica to a T. Exuberant, passionate, warm, willing, zealous, animated, heat up, lively, wait for this one, red hot, spirited, and wholehearted. There are so many words to describe the incredible person that you are. I could go over all of the things that she has done for the last years, but to suffice it to say, she never says no, no matter what. She has served in almost every capacity for her club, helping with event after event after event. She's even gotten her husband to help out when more help was needed. She's received numerous awards before this one. Leadership Awards, First Timers Award, Energizer Bunny Award. In addition to Sertoma, she fulfills so many other volunteer roles for so many organizations. Friends of the Haven, Free the Girls, Cancer Haters Club of Vale, just to name a few. One of the best days for me, Monica, personally, was the day that she agreed to be the governor for the Central District of Colorado. The energy you brought to that position, second to none. I have so many incredible memories of our time together as governors and our exploits. They were the best of times. As I said earlier, Monica never says no. When life hands her lemons, she quickly makes lemonade. When she has so much on her plate that most of us would give up, Monica will look you straight in the eye and say, "How can I help you?" Selfless, describes Monica to a T. Proud to call you my friend. You are the yin to my yang, and I love you with all of my heart. Please join me, Sertomans, in a well-deserved round of applause for the Mountain West Region Sertoman of the Year, Monica Watts.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I knew I'd make her cry.
Monica, a couple of things. It turns out you're a pretty popular winner by the number of congratulations you're getting on the chat room. And if you're not too teary-eyed, would you tell us that story now?
Oh, yeah. The best thing to do is to share it on. I wanted to give a public time. We spend a lot of time talking about Sertoma and Sertoma being a family, not just the people in your club, but the larger Sertoma family. And last November, my husband and I were at a conference in Scottsdale when he came down with a really bad dental medical emergency. And turns out there aren't a lot of dentists lining up to see you at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. And the hotel was trying for us and we were trying frantically. His whole face was swollen up twice the size. His eye was swollen shut. He was in excruciating pain. And I, at a loss, complete loss, it suddenly dawned on me that I have Sertoma family in the area. And I waited till 6:30 in the morning. I didn't want to call too early, but I sent out text messages to our dear friends, Alan Collier and Mark Daly. And they immediately got back with me and went on the prowl to try to make sure that they could find someone for me to turn to. And I couldn't have appreciated it anymore. And it just shows it's an investment in attending conventions and regional conventions and national conventions. You build your Sertoma family, you build your people, and you build your village. And I just wanted to thank them from the bottom of my heart because it was a terrifying moment for me. And they were so kind. I couldn't have asked for any more. Just once in a while, it's good to have an attaboy. Thank you, gentlemen. Everybody should celebrate you. Thank you.
I just want to congratulate you. Monica is a very well-deserved award. And I wish it hadn't thrown to me because I'm going to throw it right back to Cindy and Monica to give us the S-Hole Award presentation.
Hold on one moment.
I was afraid of that. I think I threw it to them too quickly. They have a costume or wardrobe change, and my schedule didn't allow for that. So I'm going to do a tap dance here for a couple of minutes. I just hope that everyone is familiar now after seeing the break with some of the facts about this award and some of the past winners. It's important to recognize the purpose of this award. It's not just a popularity contest, although I think this year's winner is quite popular, but it's also an opportunity to recognize leadership in our membership. So Cindy and Monica, are you guys ready yet? Apparently, yes.
Ready?
Take it away.
Oh, it's us. Monica. Oh man, it's us. They're ready. Oh, we're late. Oh, we're late. Oh, jeepers. Put the margaritas down. Put the margaritas down. All right, take off the glasses. We were having a little siesta. It was lovely, but we're back now. All right, we're back now. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. S-Hole. We are here to present the S-Hole Award.
How is an S-Hole identified? Or how can you spot one on the street? The owner comes with a distinctive
We can't hear Monica very well.
Right here beside me. Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
That works.
Okay. We're right in front of the mic, so I'm not sure why it's quiet. Anyway, this is how you identify an S-Hole if you see one on the street. The honor comes with a distinctive pin found in the Sertoma merchandise catalog. It looks a lot like a Sertine pin, but it has a tiny hole drilled through it. The award also comes with a very large wooden S. Very large wooden S. How are Sertomans You want to hold this for me? How are Sertomans selected for this event? The past S-holes, pull up closer so you can hear me. Past S-holes meet in closed door sessions in the ladies' room, at the convention, at the hotel site, at the last minute before the next S-hole is awarded. Voting's done by secret ballot in the restroom and on toilet paper, and then the toilet paper is flushed, so all the evidence goes away. Well, this year we had to modify. Clearly, we are not in a hotel. So all the Sertomans, former S-hole Sertomans, had to phone in from their own bathroom. But we still got, we soldiered through and we still came up with a good candidate.
Now, if you'll notice, on the S-hole award, there are all these little plaques on there with the names of previous S-hole award winners. Who buys all of those plaques? Well, the honoree is obligated to purchase a plaque bearing their name and the year of the award. They must also tote the S all the way to the next convention. Monica, how in the world are we going to get that down to Arizona?
Well, we could try a little magic.
How about magic? All right,
magic.
What's some magic? Ready?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Got some magic.
Got some magic happening.
And we got the wand. Ready? Say the magical words with me. Abracadabra. Woo! Look at that.
That's a nice easily transportable model.
Fabulous.
Nice work, Cindy.
All righty. So the way this goes is previous S-hole award winners come up with some little one-liners to describe this year's recipient. So we're going to go through those.
Okay. So Joe Carroll's contribution. This person is always joyful and is known for their kind spirit.
Marty Collins said most people like to mix up their wardrobes. However, this person has the habit of wearing the same
We're not hearing you, Cindy.
I don't know why they can't hear us. I don't know, maybe. I'm going to report for Steve Dawson, who phoned in. This person is really not qualified. They're far too nice.
Pat White says, I can't imagine starting a regional convention without this person.
Cindy Markham says, kind, gentle soul.
Daryl King says, when this person speaks, people listen. When this person acts, people follow. For this person is known to have a connection with great wisdom and authority.
My contribution would be that James Earl Jones and Morgan Freeman would be envious of this inductee.
Dwayne Gripmaker said, thou shalt not covet another Sertoman's S-hole.
Joy Demain says, how many Hail Marys will we need for accepting this award?
And lastly, Norm Borchers says,
Father, forgive us, for we know not what we do. Please join us in congratulating Father Chris
from the LA Fire Department as our next S-hole recipient.
Hey, congratulations, Father. I'm so glad you were able to get back online today.
Are you there, Father Chris? Uh-oh.
Oh, I certainly am.
Congratulations.
I've always wondered about that award. And my mom is standing here next to me. She's 94, going to be 95. And she's been laughing all morning long. So thank you. And I'll try to carry it with honor. God bless all you guys. You guys are crazy. I love you.
We will be putting this one in the mail to you. And we're
Oh.
actually trying to figure out how we can send the big blue S to you, because we've had it for the last year and we're done with it.
Well,
this will
you
be
go
coming to
ahead
you in
and
the
hang
mail.
on to it for a while. We'll see what happens.
Well,
Congratulations, Father.
congratulations.
Thank
Love
you, thank you, thank you.
Us whole team.
Well, we managed to be irreverent in the most inappropriate way ever. So there you go. Congratulations, Father Chris.
Oh, thank you. You guys all keep me humble.
Well, you were a very popular winner. We were reticent in selecting you because of the irreverence of the selection. We did it anyway. So there you go. Now, I'm going to move quickly on to our next item on the agenda, and it's candidate announcements. And we have with us the only announced candidate for junior vice president. And so B. Gabani, would you please step forward?
I'm stepping forward. As you know, my name is B. Gabani. I'm a member of the Hearts and Hands Sertoma Club, part of the Allegheny Canada region. I'm currently serving as your national treasurer. During the past few years serving on the board, we had made great progress in the way I'd love to see Sertoma continue. So I would like to submit my name at this time for junior vice president. So please vote for me come next spring. Thank you so very, very much for your time.
That didn't take long.
Do you want me to go on?
No, that's
Okay.
fine. I just want to congratulate you on your decision to run. I think you'll make a great president of Sertoma, which is in effect what the junior vice president is running for. After 3 or 4 years on the executive committee, then you automatically become president. And I'm looking forward to that happening. I suppose there could be other candidates. So maybe I'm going out on the limb here, but you've got my vote.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. It was a very difficult decision, but I think I made the right one. So thank you.
Well, you're to be congratulated. Now we come to the part of the convention that we've all been waiting anxiously for, and that's the regional business meeting. So we've got a financial report, and I'm hoping that John can activate his video, and also David can share screen that document. There it is. Can anybody read it? So basically, this is a summary of the expenses that have been incurred for the last year. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see that we had a net profit in the region of $342. But what is more important is the budget, the proposed budget. So can we switch screens and put that on there? And John, I don't see you coming on. So I guess I'm going to have to explain a few things about the budget.
John is on.
John, can you speak?
Certainly.
Did you want to say anything about the financial report that was the prior screen?
Well, we ended the year with a positive cash balance. And at this moment in time, we're not incurring much in the way of expenses. So things are very positive.
The reason for that is COVID. We've eliminated almost all the travel for the year. Didn't go to national, didn't go to regional, didn't travel anywhere within the region. So a lot of the projections were not met because of the impact of COVID. So we're accumulating more money. John, would you point out what the balance is currently?
Currently, at the end of September, we have $9,412.
And is that about 3,000 more than we got entering the year?
Yes.
Okay. So again, the reason for that is COVID. And actually, I have to correct myself. Last year, we didn't have COVID and we didn't spend all that was projected. We had a small net gain. But this year, because of COVID, we have a substantial gain. And so there was some thought about whether we should treat that as excess and make some changes, either give money to the annual fund or delay dues collection. And after a lot of consideration, it was decided that we're going to kick the can down the road a year, and we're not going to treat any of the money as excess. What we're going to do is add two things that are different. We're going to pay for both the secretary and the treasurer of the region to attend conventions. And I'm going to make a trip to the Polar Plunge in Matsu, Alaska. And I don't think any people are on the convention from Alaska. So there's probably no whooping in the background yet, but there are a lot of people that don't like me and hope that I get in the cold water and have a heart attack, I think. But that's just, I'm
They've
just
been
guessing.
warned.
Pardon?
They've been warned.
Yeah. So if I die, it will be in the service of Sertoma. But I'm actually thrilled at the prospect. I've never been to Alaska and I've never taken a polar plunge even up in Boulder. So I'm hoping that this can happen next year. So let's put the budget up, the proposed budget. So what we have, we will email this budget to all the club presidents, and each club will be asked to sign on there's a sheet, there you go, to sign approving the budget. And you can email your approval. Janice, should they send that to me, John, or headquarters?
That's a good question. Aaron?
You all can retain records of that. I think that's more appropriate for the records to be retained there.
All right, I'll cover that in the email that when I send this out. People will return it to me, and we'll say 2-3 weeks. Is that enough time or too much time? Aaron, do
I
you
think
think
you're reasonable with a couple of weeks.
Okay, so we'll ask for those to be responded to at that time. There's not really a practical way to conduct this approval process like we would in person. We'd have everybody sign today. So we'll have to do it that way. So I think that brings us to the end of the business meeting, unless anybody has any questions. I see some chats here. All right, so there aren't any questions on the budget. Some inappropriate remarks from Daryl about the Polar Plunge. But I forgive you, Daryl. So here we go. I want to wrap this up, and I first of all want to give out some thanks. I want to first of all thank Janice Martin for her guidance and leadership in helping us through this. But I especially want to thank my dear friend David Oppenheim, who took on the role of Zoom expert without being one. So he had to learn a lot, and he had to work long and hard to learn everything he needed to learn. But I think that he's done an outstanding job. And I really thank you, David, from the bottom of my heart for your work on this convention. It really, I think you just did a great job. I want to thank the convention committee, Monica Watts, Cindy Markham, Dave Oppenheim, and myself. We didn't originally realize that Mesa wasn't going to handle this virtual convention. And so when we finally figured that out, due to some communication from Mesa, we jumped on it, but late, and we still, I think, put together this convention successfully. So I hope you all enjoyed the convention, and if so, thanks go to the committee. I want to thank all our presenters. Temple Grandin, who was amazing. Gretchen Nielsen, who I think did a fantastic job. And she kind of jumped in at the last minute because our original plan was to play one of her videos rather than have her do it live. But it ended up, she was willing to do it live, and it was easier technically for her to do it live. So that worked out well. And I thought her presentation was excellent. We had a great panel with Joy and Daryl and Bea and Cindy and Aaron. I think they did an excellent job. Cindy and Vicky in their presentation on fundraising were excellent, and they came in for a lot of praise from the chat room. So thank you for you guys. The only thing I haven't recognized, I guess, is to David Oppenheim for the Pledge of Allegiance. I really appreciated the touch of the young lady doing sign language in conjunction with that. And finally, my regional treasurer, John Moran, for the excellent work he did making the business meeting coherent. So next year we meet in Mesa, and we're going to have, we hope, a live convention then. So let me close with one final remark about Sertoma. Sertoma is not growing. Sertoma is shrinking. It's not dying, but it's shrinking. I think Sertoma is becoming livelier and more engaged. But there's a saying in the Bible that the people perish without a vision. And the question is, for Sertomans, what is the vision that we need to have in order not to perish? And the answer is, you need to have insight into what it is that makes you want to be in Sertoma. For me, it's simple. Serving people, giving to others makes me feel good. And Sertoma, therefore, is a wonderful outlet for my soul. And I think there's a lot of reasons to be in Sertoma, but we probably all mostly have that in common. Serving others makes Sertoma tick. And keep that foremost in your mind's eye, and you will maintain the vision so that we not just don't perish, but thrive. Thank you for joining us. And I now adjourn the Mountain West Regional Convention.